Welcome to How to Buy and Sell Real Estate for Financial Freedom, Part 3. So get your notes ready. We're going to move into the out of the box section. In the previous 2 episodes, How to Buy and Sell Real Estate for Financial Freedom, we talked about the basic strategies: bird dogging, wholesaling, fix and flip, and buy and hold. And for those seasoned investors that stuck with me through Part 1 and Part 2, I'm about to deliver that revelation that I promised you in this episode 3. The strategy I'm about to show you delivers all the needs of every investor. It has immediate equity, cash for today, cash for tomorrow, a huge reduction in liabilities and expenses, and the potential for liquidity. In the process, I'm going to give landlords a lot to think about because I'm going to eliminate a lot of your issues with this strategy. I'm also going to blow the minds of the wholesalers out there. If you're a wholesaler, please stay tuned because I'm showing you where you're missing the boat right in this segment. Many years ago, I learned a strategy called seller financing, or in other words, owner financing. So I've been using this strategy for over 2 decades. What I learned was the way that it should go, instead of bird dogging to wholesaling to fix and flip, and then to buy and hold where we start building wealth and legacy wealth and financial freedom, it should really go bird dog, wholesaling, fix and flip, owner finance strategy, then buy and hold. It's a perfect 5th strategy, but it slips in between 3 and 4. And that's how it should really be done. And bird dogging and wholesaling is just a job. Fix and flip, still just a job. Then if you move right into landlording, you have all these liabilities and all these expenses, and it'll drive you crazy, and you don't have a cash flow that you can depend on. If you'll slip seller financing right in after fix and flip and before buy and hold, you can start to build a dependable, durable cash flow and also have lots of money in the bank. Because what happens when you seller finance properties? Number 1, you pick up a down payment. You're not picking up, $1,000 or $2,000 in a deposit. You're picking up $10,000, $15,000, $30,000, substantial amounts of money up front. And then you're creating a spread between what you owe, the mortgage that you owe, and the mortgage that you collect. Not the rent that you collect, but the mortgage that you collect. And this mortgage is so much more stable than rent or renters. You can start to count on this money because what happens when you collect rent? You collect the rent money and you're sitting there and you're holding it in your hand. And then about 3 days later, the air conditioner breaks, and then you got to give this rent money to the air conditioner man because it really wasn't your money, it was the air conditioner man's money. But if you collect a mortgage and you're looking at the money in your hand and the air conditioner breaks, it's not your air conditioner because you sold that house on payments. This is still your money. The air conditioner problem is not your money. So this is a much more dependable form of income, more dependable cash flow system because you don't have any liabilities. Landlord is responsible for everything from the back fence to the front mailbox. The mortgage company is responsible for collecting the payment, period. You should move from fix and flip to seller financing or owner financing to build a very strong cash flow that's dependable with big chunks backing it up, anchoring the deal, and then move into your buy and holds. All right, so I have a bunch of numbers back here. I'm going to explain them to you, so don't panic. But this is a typical owner finance strategy. I'm going to show you just a run-of-the-mill, oversimplified a little bit maybe, but simple owner finance strategy. And then I'm going to explain to you why it fits perfectly in between fix and flip and buy and hold. It needs to be in between there so that when you do get to the buy and hold stage, you're so much more solid. So here we go. Got your pen and paper ready? First, we find a house that has an owner finance value of $150,000. And then, once we've determined that this property that we're interested in that has a motivated seller for whatever reason, that the property is worth $150,000, we negotiate to buy the house for $75,000 fast cash, okay? Fast cash. Now, as soon as that buyer says yes to this offer, $75,000, we go out and we borrow $75,000 from a private lender or an institutional lender, but probably a private lender. And we give that private lender a first lien on a $150,000 house. So that they're loaning $75,000, and if they don't get paid as agreed, they get a $150,000 house. This is a sellable transaction. A lot of people would like to loan you money under this condition. The condition to where they're loaning a little bit and they have a piece of collateral that's worth a lot, okay? This makes loans a no-brainer for lenders. Now, what does this lender loan you money? What are the terms? Well, we're going to ask for 8%, 15 years, and our payment going out is going to be $717. Okay, that's principal and interest. Is 8% a healthy return? Sure it is. At the banks right now, they're offering 1% or less. A lot of people bragging about what they're making in the stock market, but unless they've sold their stocks, they haven't made anything. So it's gambling. So this is a 8% on your $75,000, or you get a $150,000 house. Again, do you see why people would loan you under these conditions? So once we've consummated this acquisition and financing part, then we go to the sale. Now down here, we sell the house for $150,000. We already knew we could sell it for $150,000 because of the research we did up here in the very beginning. So we consummate on that. We sell the house for $150,000. We take at least 10% down. And in this case, that's $15,000. Now that's not to say that I couldn't have found a buyer with $20,000 down or $25,000 down or $35,000 down. But the minimum I would take down, the way that I do it, is 10%. So 10% of $150,000 is $15,000. This buyer that I'm selling to is giving me $15,000 cash, and then I'm agreeing to finance this $135,000 for my buyer. I'm going to seller finance it at 10% for 30 years. Notice I borrowed at 8% for 15. I have a payment of $717. I'm selling it carrying a $135,000 balance at 10% for 30 years, and I have an incoming payment of $1,185 per month. So if you look over here, I got an outgoing payment, $717. I have an incoming payment of $1,185. So if you do the math there, I am positive cash flowing on this deal $468 a month for the first 15 years. In the second 15 years, after my payment has dropped off because I'm finished, this guy still owes me 15 years at $1,185. So let's take a look at how this all works and why it's such a strong and durable and dependable cash flow stream. For one is, the person in this house is an owner. He cares about this house. It's his home. He bought it. He's painted it. He's fixed it. He's put the trampoline in the backyard. He put the pool in the backyard. He put the porch and the landscaping. He added a room. He's got a new air conditioner that he put in there because his friend's in the air conditioning business. They've done a lot to this house. This guy's not walking. Not to mention the fact that he gave me $15,000 hard cold cash to move in. Okay? How much money do I have in this property out of my personal pocket? I've got zero money out of my pocket. I bought it for $75. I borrowed $75. I have nothing in this house. So when I get a $15,000 down payment, that's my money. That's what I pay my bills with, my house payment, my car payment. What does it go buy clothes or take a vacation? That's my money. It's not a refundable deposit. It's a down payment. It's my money. So that's a lot of glue right there. That's enough glue to make it stick. But the emotional and the pride of ownership and the kids in the school district and the whole thing, that's a whole nother set of glue. These deals are strong. They're dependable. And then I have this $468 a month that's coming in, but just about the time, $468 isn't worth that much because of inflation. Like 15 years from now, my payment drops off. I'm done. And now I'm collecting the whole $1,185 for another 15 years. So I kind of like got a built-in inflation thing here. I'm collecting $468 for 15 years, and then I no longer have a payment anymore, and then this guy still owes me the whole $1,185 for 15 years. So do you see why this is a logical move? When you go bird dogging to wholesaling to fix and flip, you got yourself on a hamster wheel and you're just doing something that has to be done over and over and over again. So we start to move in, and typically people move into this buy and hold phase where they're a landlord and they have all these liabilities and all these expenses, and they really don't know if they're going to make any money at the end of the month, because it depends on if the air conditioner breaks or the roof leaks or the hot water heater goes out or somebody drives a car through their garage door. You can never depend on that rental income really, but this you can depend on. And I suggest that you do these kind of deals, 10, 15, 20 of these. So if you have 20 468s coming in a month, $10,000 a month coming in before you move into the buy and hold. Now, even that being said, when you move into the buy and hold, here's even a bigger revelation. Don't move into houses. When you move into the buy and hold phase, you move into the buy and hold phase doing something like buy and hold mini storages, rent mini storages lots, rent mobile home lots, rent commercial building space or office spaces, anything but a house. Houses are owned by consumers, and consumer law protects consumers. You want to move, when you're going to buy and hold, think of more of a commercial setup so that when you're buying and collecting rent from people, they're in a commercial loan scenario instead of a consumer loan scenario. Again, consumer loan would be someone moved into my house and it's their homestead. That's a consumer loan. Consumer loans have a lot more teeth, there's a lot more regulation, and a lot more dangerous liabilities to you. If you do commercial loans, you get rid of all that. So, do owner financing before you move into buy and hold. And when you do move into buy and hold, don't do it with homes. Do it under commercial circumstances. And there's your revelation. Okay, remember when I told you wholesalers that I was going to blow your mind? I have some good news, bad news. So stick with me here. Because you can't find this $75,000 so that you can buy the property yourself, you're settling for $15,000 in a wholesale fee, calling it a day and moving on. If you could find the $75,000 and have it financed at 8%, 15 years, you could still have your $15,000 in the form of a down payment. But there'd be more. You would still be collecting $468 per month times 12 months times 15 years. That equals $84,240. And then after that 15 years is over and your payment dropped because you'd have to be paid off, you'd be collecting the entire $1,185 times 12 months a year for 15 years. That's another $213,300 that you would still be able to collect if you could have found this money. And that's a total, and you add these three things together, the 15, the 84, the 213, you add it all together, because you cannot find this money right here, you are settling for $15,000. Whereas the man who can find the money is making $297,555. So I'm trying to paint a case here. I have a course called Private Money Changes Everything. I've raised over $26 million. As a matter of fact, I owe somewhere right this minute as this is being filmed, I owe between $20 million and $26 million. I owe a payment on the 1st of this coming month. It's non-recourse, collateral-only loan. I either pay as agreed, or I hand them over my house. I've never handed a house to anyone, but I collect on between 300 and 500 mortgages on any given month, okay? Because I've learned how to find this private money, and I wanted to pose the challenge to you. Let's move from $15,000 to $297,000. I challenge you to come with me and learn how to find this money right here. And I think it'll be well worth it. If it takes you a year to figure out how to get this money, then you have that talent for the rest of your life. You're better off. Even one transaction with this money makes up for a lot of these transactions. All right, this is Mitch Stephen. I'm out of here. Seller financing is a tremendous strategy. And don't forget, those notes that you own, they're liquidatable. And that completes everything we promised you in this segment 3. Now, if you've liked this or you found this informative, please hit that like button. And if you know someone who needs to see this information, please hit the share button. Now I'm going to do something I hardly ever do. I'm going to offer you a free copy of my course, The Art of Creative Real Estate Investing, if you just click on the link below. I never do this. This is how I make my living. But today, I'm going to give you the chance to look at it. It goes way deep into this seller financing strategy, and it's going to blow your mind.